Live. It's been a while since I was live. I'm wearing lipstick. Okay, wait. I'm wearing lipstick and I haven't worn my wig for a while, but I've got my wig on. I've got stains on my shirt. I don't care. I'm wearing lipstick. I never wear lipstick. And it's like a darkish color. I got it on my teeth. Not okay. I feel funny. Okay, just pretend it's real hair. Oh, you're gonna get to see Perino, and you're gonna get to see Perino live in person, live in Mousen. I've got the book. I'm going to make some tea. What day is it? Thursday. It's Thursday. Wait a minute. I think if I like this, you won't see my son. No, he's still. No, you don't see my thumb all the time now. Hello, one person. Okay, it's Wednesday. It's 3:30, so who knows how many people will show up. I've got my wig on. I'm trying to make things look better, you know? Okay. Just disregard the background, okay? I've got my wig on. I did some buns up here. They're called space buns, I think is like the trendy name for them. I mean, people have been doing that hairstyle for decades upon decades, but they're called space buns now. I don't know. Do they make you look like an alien? You know, where you have one big bun here and one big bun here. But I couldn't get them to go high enough. They kept going down, and then you see the edge of the wig cap. So I'm just sticking with this forever. I cut my bangs a little bit more, and they're a bit more manageable for not going in my face. Yes, I've got my book. I'm just making some tea. I'll be right back. Oh. Okay. I have to get a new kettle, because when I pour the water out of my kettle, I'm pouring it like a normal person, but it goes everywhere. It comes out of the spout, but it also comes out somewhere else. I don't know. So I have to be careful that I don't burn myself. Yes, so I am wearing, that was my shoe. I always sit Indian style. Sorry if that's like offensive. It's not. Why would it be offensive? That's the way Indians sit. It's like calling something what it is not offensive. Anyway, I sit Indian style, you know, like with my legs crossed underneath me, because it's the most comfortable way to sit. It's how I automatically sit down. Well, I have to take my shoes off so I can be comfortable, and then I sit like that. I don't consciously sit down and decide I'm going to sit like that. It's just the way I sit. So I have some peppermint tea here. I find a lot of teas very drying to my mouth, which is not conducive to reading out loud. Like a lot of green teas, I find they're very dehydrating inside my mouth. I've got my water. There's a slight breeze outdoors. I've read ahead a little bit by myself in the book. And yeah, I don't remember what was the last thing we read. Do you guys remember? But I'll backtrack a little, as I normally do, and just give like the last few paragraphs of the last chapter we finished. Is this where I'm supposed to be? Because I read ahead and I'm not sure if I put... Did we read chapter 9, The Vanishing Patient? Did we read that? I guess I should have checked. Can somebody tell me if we read chapter 9? I think we did. It was where there was a kidnapping, and the picture from the front of the book came into play. Did we read this? I'm gonna check the chat. Okay. I believe we did. Yeah, we must have, because the one before that. Do you think Jodie Armstrong is really Jodie Horton? I don't want to accidentally skip ahead and then realize we didn't read chapter 9. There's no way for me to check. So anyway, I'm not ready to start anyway. Yes, I think this is, I think we're on chapter 10. There's a picture coming up in chapter 10. Chapter 10 is called Peter Judd. No relation to who, I don't know. So I've got my peppermint tea. I've already got some lipstick on my cup. I'm wearing lipstick. I never wear lipstick because I have an overbite and like rabbit teeth, huge rabbit teeth. And I always get, as soon as I close my mouth, the lipstick goes on my teeth. But I just felt like it. So there. Everyone's gone. Come on. Why is everyone gone? Did I just hear thunder? Should we? Okay, nobody's here, so I'm going to goof off with filters. I really want to do a black and white one. I don't really like that. I like this one, documentary. Let's do silver screen. Oh, this is a bad one. Sepia, no. Silver screen. Okay, I'm going with silver screen for now. I know it's bright because of the window, but okay. Well, I guess I have some stuff here. I was like, oh, I'll show you some things I like. Well, I'll put the color back on. Let's try 8mm. Ooh, it's a bit too. How's this glamour? This filter is called glamour. I don't like it. These are all terrible filters as far as I'm concerned. I'm just no filter. This is Jamaican black castor oil. Okay, I'll put it back on. Give the people what they want. The rainbow. Oh, it's not called rainbow. This one? This one, right? This must be the rainbow one. Okay. Jamaican black castor oil. I got this for my hair. Unfortunately, I had it in my suitcase one time and it just opened because it doesn't close nicely, doesn't close securely, and it went all over my favorite winter hat. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get the castor oil out of it. Had I gotten this for my hair or my skin? I don't know. It's for both. Supports healthy scalp. Helps fortify hair. Adds shine. Great for massage, aromatherapy. But I had to, they have like 5 million different flavors. Not flavors because you don't drink it. 5 million different scents. And I chose lemongrass. This is one of my favorite smells in the world, lemongrass. I also put lemongrass on my food because it's so good. Anyway, I have a little bit left. I like other smells too, but oh, this smells so good. Like I would drink it. Can you drink it? Remember the movie Stand By Me? When Gordy was telling the story about Lardass and the pie eating contest? And Lardass got his revenge, which involved drinking castor oil. But this has other stuff in it. Wait, it has ingredients. I need my Nancy Drew magnifying glass. It's all Latin. I can't read that. I can't read Latin. Who likes the movie Rushmore? I saved Latin. What did you ever do? Anyway, I was just putting some on my skin because I'm like dry-ish. And also I have a mango one and a lavender one and a rosemary. Yes. I have rosemary and I have lavender. Not castor oil, but essential oils. Oh, just, it's so nice. Stand By Me or Rushmore. They're both really good. So could you please tell me what was the last chapter we read? Did we read chapter 9, The Vanishing Patient? Did we read chapter 9? I think so, because I read ahead on my own. The brand is I'm Old. Oh, well, Stand By Me is from 1985 and Rushmore is from 98, maybe? Yes. Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm pretty sure we're on chapter 10 right now. So yes, that's one thing I love. And then I am also addicted to this type of lifesavers. It was just, they just had like these ones on sale. So I got 2 bags and I just finished my first bag, and you can smell the peppermint before you've even opened it. It's ridiculous. I like peppermint. These are window green. I'm addicted to them. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I need my peppermint. And then I'm going to have some noodles after we read. I'm going to have a Nong Shim noodle bowl. Creole Essence. That's the brand. I don't really look at brands. I just, I get what there is. There's so many brands of everything. My hair is falling out. One more favorite thing, okay? I don't have any hair right now, but I did discover the best hair dye ever. It's Italian. I've used their blonde and I've used this red. The brand is called Aloxi. And the shade names are all really fun because they're like Italy related. The ginger that I use is called Don't Prosciutto the Messenger. And the blonde that I used when I had hair and I was blonde was, one was called Roman Goddess and one was called Taste of Torino. They have very clever Italian names. So that's some of my favorite things. Oh, and guess who I have here with me? You haven't met this guy yet because the last live I did, he was not my little friend yet. It's Perino, the pocket mouse. Hello, everybody. I have to be careful because I was keeping my peppermints in him and he was like beside me in bed. But I ate all the peppermints that I stuffed in him. And now I have a piece of, I think this is jade. It must be. I have a piece of jade stuffed into him. So he can stand up like that. Hello. I've never been to Ulta. We don't have Ulta here. We have Sephora. I'm not really into like makeup much. It's fun to look at the colors and whatnot, but I don't really. I put on some makeup for fun, but I don't really care. Plus, it's so expensive. Oh, okay. I bought one thing at Sephora the first time I went. I'll show it to you. I'm putting Perino back over here. He's sitting beside the terrarium. Okay, Perino? He's my little helper. I'll show you the palette that I got. I've never spent this much money on makeup. This was a few years ago I got this. There are, how many shadows are in here? There are 9 eyeshadows in here. I paid like $60 for this. It's really fun colors. I had trouble deciding between the ruby one and the emerald one, because I like reds and pinks, but I also love greens. Now these are fun. These are very fun color. I'm going to turn the, since I shaved my head, I wear more. But I love body care and hair care. I'm obsessed with lotions and potions. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. If I had unlimited funds, well, first of all, if I had unlimited funds, I'd be morbidly obese because I love eating. And yes, I would have like too much stuff. I already have too much stuff. So I'm going to take this filter off just because I just want normal colors for now. This is, I've never spent that much money on a makeup. But it's fun. It's got reds and pinks and sparklies. All right. I've amassed quite a little bunch of junk here beside me. So let's get started on reading chapter 10, which means after we read this, we'll be halfway through the book. And this is our second book that we've read live. How exciting. Perino is staring at me. He's like, don't mess up, Mom. No, he's not judgmental like that. And I try not to judge him. And my tea over here. I try not to judge him. He's so cute. I love him. So Perino's a pocket mouse. My cousin Chris got him for me at the bookstore in Knowlton, which is my hometown. And he's like my little guy now. I named him after Perry Como. Perry Como's real Italian name is Perino. And I just thought I would name him that because we like Perry Como. All right, let's do a quick recap of the end of chapter 9, which was the vanishing patient. It was Mr. Wheeler, right? He went to the hospital and then they went to go see him and he was gone. He got kidnapped. Okay, they're talking to the head nurse or whoever, the nurse who was around when in charge of him. Oh, yes, he mumbled a great deal. Mrs. Straff replied, I couldn't get much out of it, but maybe the name of the person you're trying to find out about is the one he kept repeating. It was Peter Judd. I've never heard of him. He may be the man, said Nancy, and thanked the woman for the information. The girls left the hospital. When they were on the street once more, Nancy smiled and said, I'll bet Mrs. Hempstead will know who Peter Judd is. Bess and George giggled, and the girls turned toward the brass kettle. We'll have an early lunch, Nancy remarked. We may see Mrs. Hempstead first. Remember, you're to call me Irene. Right, she's pretending to be someone else. Oh, that's right, said Bess. Lead the way, Miss Irene Innsbruck. The three friends walked through the door of the tea room. As usual, Mrs. Hempstead was seated in her rocker, wearing the same black dress with the ruching collar. The instant she saw the girls, her wrinkled face broke into a grin. In her high-pitched voice, she asked, Well, how are you, Nancy Drew, detective? End of chapter 9. So she knows, the old tea room lady knows that Nancy Drew is not Irene. So she can drop that act now, which is fun. Chapter 10, Peter Judd. When confronted with a startling statement, Nancy usually was able to hide her surprise. This time she did not succeed. Mrs. Hempstead's greeting was too astounding. "So you found me out," she said after a moment. "Who told you?" The old lady wagged her head. "I don't know. An anonymous note came in today's mail." From a deep pocket in her skirt, Mrs. Hempstead withdrew the folded piece of paper. She handed the note to Nancy. Bess and George crowded near her to read the message printed on it. The note was short and to the point. "Don't be fooled. The girl calling herself Irene Innsbruck is really Nancy Drew. She's a detective. Beware what you say to her. Beware what you say to her, or you may get into trouble." Whoa. It sounds like, who could that be from? Bess sniffed. "I hate people who write anonymous notes. Why didn't the person who wrote this come right out in the open and tell you?" "How should I know?" Mrs. Hempstead asked in a high, complaining voice. Nancy was sure of one thing. The sender of the note had done it with the express purpose of trying to frighten Mrs. Hempstead into revealing no more gossip to Nancy. But he doesn't stand a chance of succeeding, Nancy told herself with determination. Nancy is so determined. And Mrs. Hempstead, she's got to give up the gossip. She lives for the gossip, which isn't very churchly, I don't think. Gossiping is not one of the 7 deadly sins, but it's not very godly, I don't think. Here's the picture from this chapter. A very nice picture. There's Mrs. Hempstead in her chair, and Nancy is in the back looking all determined and confident. And it says, "So you found me out," Nancy exclaimed. "I don't know whether I'll tell Mr. Seaman or not," she said flatly. "I suppose I'd like to know more about him. Well, I can't tell you much more than I already have. He's been coming here for several years. Always stops and talks to me to get the local news. I figure he's a traveling salesman." Nancy did not reveal the fact that he had a Deep River address. Because of Mrs. Hempstead's idea that he was from out of town, Nancy was sure now that Mr. Seaman had given a fictitious address when obtaining his driver's license. Could he have written the warning note to Mrs. Hempstead? Nancy wondered. The old lady went on. "The other day when Mr. Seaman came in, he said he was looking for a girl named Nancy Drew who was coming to town. He wanted to find out where she was staying." "But why?" George put in. "Nancy isn't acquainted with him." Mrs. Hempstead shrugged. "I don't know. Mr. Seaman acted as if he wanted to date you, Nancy. When you told me your name was Irene, I figured you must be another girlfriend." The elderly woman chuckled cheerfully. "I thought to myself, here's a complication. What's this all about, anyway?" How many people are here? Is there just one person here? Not that you're not important. I'm just wondering. You're very important. You're the MVP means most valuable player. Most valuable person, then. What's this all about, anyway? What do you mean? Nancy countered. After After another several seconds of furious rocking, she loves her rocking chair, Mrs. Hempstead said, I mean, here you are, a detective, using an assumed name, and Mr. Seaman asking for you. Nancy laughed. I suggest that you ask Mr. Seaman. After all, he inquired about me first. Before Mrs. Hempstead could do any more delving, the young sleuth said, Girls, I'm absolutely starved. Let's go eat. She and the cousins escaped into the dining room and found a table far from the waiting room door. As they unfolded their napkins, George remarked, Speaking of complications, this mystery gets more tangled by the minute. I don't like the idea of that anonymous note, Nancy, said Bess. It might mean danger to you. Nancy merely smiled. You and George are my bodyguards. Can't you keep me from the big bad wolves? You know, Mr. Seaman might have sent that note. The cousins nodded worriedly. The three ate a light lunch. Then Nancy said, we came to the Brass Kettle in the first place to see if Mrs. Hempstead knows Peter Judd. I admit I'd forgotten all about it until this moment. After the girls had paid their lunch checks, they went back to the waiting room. Mrs. Hempstead was not there, and Nancy wondered how soon she would return. George learned from the woman's daughter that she was having her midday meal and a rest in her room upstairs. I gotta check my tea and see if it's still burning me. Oh, I can feel a breeze outside. It's nice. I can't wait to take my hair off, honestly. It's keeping my head warm, but it's a little itchy. Okay, now my tea is like not the right temperature. I'm so picky about the temperature of hot beverages. It's not cold, but it's not quite hot enough. Very, very persnickety. Very, very persnickety about temperatures. Like it doesn't have that hot little bite to it. And then my microwave is much too powerful, and it just like turns things into a ball of fire. Yes, Mrs. Hempstead is upstairs having her midday meal and a rest. But Mother will be down in a little while, she said. Would you like to wait? Nancy decided to do so. The girls sat down for a few minutes, then arose and began to look at the various articles in the old-fashioned room. Nancy examined the antique map on the wall, which designated the local area as Moonstone Valley. Deep River was shown as a place with only a few houses and stores. There were 2 side streets, and at the end of one, at the river, stood a large mill. What a picturesque town this must have been, Nancy thought. At that moment, Mrs. Hempstead returned to the room and took her place in the old rocker. Did you enjoy your lunch? She asked. Yes, indeed, Bess replied. If I ate here very often, I'd put on pounds and pounds. My daughter has established a good reputation, the elderly woman said proudly. Folks come from miles and miles away. Nancy asked, Did you ever hear of a man named Mr. Peter Judd? Indeed, I have, Mrs. Hempstead replied quickly. Queer old fellow. Queer? Nancy repeated. That's what folks say. Peter Judd used to be a train conductor. Now he's retired and lives across the river in a little cottage. Won't have a soul help him. He does all his own cooking and laundry work. Has his place full of railroad posters. The dishes and silver he uses are all from railroad dining cars." The girls giggled. Encouraged by their interest, Mrs. Hempstead added, "You couldn't mistake his house. Right on the front lawn he has an enormous bell that was taken from an old-fashioned locomotive. Sometimes boys sneak in there and ring it. You can hear it clear across the river." "I'd like to see it," said Nancy. "Just where is his house?" Mrs. Hempstead said that if they went directly across the river and turned downstream for a mile, they would come to a dock with a string of railroad cars painted on the overhang. "That's his place." The girls thanked the elderly woman and said goodbye. They went at once to a boat rental service and hired a small runabout. Nancy took the wheel and the little craft skimmed across the river. Some 200 feet from shore, she headed downstream, planning to turn in toward Mr. Judd's dock. I'm going to go and heat up my tea. Okay? I'll be right back because it's not at the optimal temperature. Ow, hurt myself. Oh, salad. Yes. Ow, that's hot. Too much power in the microwave. I'm back. Perino, why didn't you keep people entertained while I was gone? You're supposed to be an entertainer. The way Perino is facing, it looks like he's doing a little dance. The way his arms are just positioned. He's such an entertainer. On the way, George showed Bess Mr. Wheeler's half-submerged motorboat. Bess shuddered a bit. "You had a narrow escape," she said. "I wonder when the authorities are going to take the boat away," George mused. "I think it would be a hazard to other boats." Nancy chuckled. "Not so much as that rock we hit." "Nancy, who do you think kidnapped Mr. Wheeler?" Bess asked. The young sleuth had a ready answer. "The same persons who kidnapped Joni Horton. I think they were afraid Mr. Wheeler might reopen the case, bringing a fraud to light. In fact, they may think Dad had asked Mr. Wheeler's assistance, even though he's retired." They located Peter Judd's dock and moored alongside it. As they walked up an incline to his little white cottage, they saw the retired railroad conductor working in his garden near the great engine bell. "I'm out of practice with the reading. I'm off on work." Nancy spoke to him, admiring the bell and his beautiful roses. See, that would be a scene that I would like to see as an illustration. Sometimes, when you picture a certain scene, and then I'm thinking about the fan art contest, which there is a winner, and I'm going to make an official announcement. How exciting. Mr. Judd was cordial and invited the girls inside his home. They found it interesting, despite Mrs. Hempstead's remarks. And Peter Judd certainly did not seem queer. "How did you happen to know about me?" he asked. At once, Nancy told him about Mr. Wheeler, the accident, and the kidnapping. What a low-down trick, Mr. Judd cried, incensed. What do you think is the reason? We can only guess, said Nancy. Possibly you can help solve the riddle. Do you know why Mr. Wheeler was bringing my friend George and me here? He hinted that it had something to do with the settlement of Mrs. Horton's estate many years ago. It's been so long since we read it, I forgot who Peter Judd was. He's the guy that Mr. Wheeler was taking Nancy and George in the boat to go talk to him when they hit the rock. Peter Judd was thoughtful for several seconds, as if trying to decide whether or not to tell these strange girls something he knew. Finally, he said, I believe I do. After that young lady, Joan Horton, got all her grandmother's money, she went away. Nobody knew where. Suddenly, I remembered something that had happened on my train a little over 6 months before old Mrs. Horton died. I went to Mr. Wheeler and told him about it, but he just laughed at me. But now I think maybe he has decided there was something to it. Eagerly, Nancy asked, What is the story? End of chapter 10. Okay, I'm remembering the book. Do you ever put a book aside for a while, and then when you go back to it, you forget everything you read, and you're like, why am I even reading a book if I can't retain information? Because it brings you pleasure at the moment, right? It's okay if you don't remember it later. While you were reading, you were enjoying it. Perfect temperature. Oh, yeah. So next time we will read chapter 11, entitled The Tower Signaler. I wonder what the story is. I wonder if we're going to see Mr. Wheeler again. I kind of like Mr. So I'm going to eat my noodles. You know what? I really wish that it would get dark sooner. My curtains are like, I have one curtain that is, well, both of my curtains are pretty sheer. One more so than the other. Both of my curtains here. All right, thank you for joining me. And for those who watch later, thanks for watching. See you soon. Oh, wait. Purina was like, hello, don't forget about me. I'm the important one.
Bye, everybody. Don't forget to listen to Perry Como and brush your teeth.